Hey guys, it's Simmy, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited as we are here on February 26th, 2019, talking everything that went down tonight on Smackdown Live. Before we get talking about Smackdown, we'll let some of you guys trickle in to the chat, the live chat. We'll see who's here with us. We've got Low Roller Scratcher, Kristen McNutt, Henry McKenna. We've got Take It Home TV, Animation TV, Woken King Slender. What is going on, everybody? There we go. Now everyone's starting to trickle in. Here we go. More people coming in. So tonight's SmackDown Live was a very interesting show. I thought overall it was a little better than Raw, like from start to finish. Because Raw had the good start and the good finish, but not that good of a middle. But with SmackDown, it had a good beginning, middle, and an end. So it all worked its way together in the long run. Excuse me. So, I mean, right off the bat, we were just shocked beyond belief because no one saw Kevin Owens coming back. Nobody expected him to replace Kofi Kingston in the Fastlane main event. And they called it the main event. So it looks like the WWE Championship match could be the main event of Fastlane. So SmackDown kicks off, and Daniel Bryan's already sitting in his chair for his contract signing. He's got Shane out there, also has Stephanie McMahon out there as well. And they start running down all the accomplishments of Kofi Kingston: U.S. champion, IC champion. The great run he did in the Elimination Chamber, him being a member of the New Day, and you're like, wow, they're really going to go all in with Kofi, like, as far as him almost beating Bryan. I didn't think there was a chance of him beating Bryan, but I didn't expect what we saw. So Kofi comes down, and he panders to the crowd, runs around the ring, shakes everybody's hands, high fives, and all this, and the crowd's going crazy for Kofi. So Kingston gets in the ring and promised that he's going to defeat Daniel Bryan and become the WWE Champion for the first time. Bryan remained seated and never spoke a word this entire segment. Bryan signed his contract first. Kofi would then sit down, and right as he was about to sign, Vince McMahon's music would hit. Vince would come out and praise Kofi Kingston and his abilities. Said that he likes Kofi. He likes what Kofi's been able to do in the ring. He said that Kofi's been a good commodity for 11 years, but he needs a bigger caliber star. He needs a big box office draw to be in the main event of Fastlane, and he has that. And my first thought was, oh, they're bringing out Randy Orton. It's going to be Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan, because who do they see as big box office? That's, Randy, other than maybe AJ, but AJ's had that title match at least 4 times in the last 3 to 4 months. I knew it wouldn't have been AJ. I was expecting Randy Orton to come out, not Kevin Owens, who was brought out by Vince McMahon. Kevin Owens walked down to the ring, noticeably had lost probably 15, 20 pounds, maybe not 20. Looked like he had dropped at least 15 pounds, though, since the last time we saw him in October. Wearing some new tattoos as well. He gets in the ring, and Kofi's just kind of like shocked by all this, not saying anything. Xavier Woods is really letting, everyone hear this is not right. This is a travesty. Kofi's worked for this. Kofi's earned this. Big E was also saying some stuff. And then they just walk off. Kevin Owens comes down, sits down in the chair, looks right at Daniel Bryan, and they go to commercial. So I'm like, okay, they're going to come back, and they're going to have Owens sign the contract. They come back from commercial, and they're in Stephanie and Shane's office. Kevin Owens is going on saying, this wasn't my decision. Don't blame me on this. Your father made this decision. I think Kofi is a great talent. I think Kofi should get a championship match. He's done some great things, but I'm not going to turn it down. Basically just like, I'm not going to turn down a championship opportunity. He then says, Daniel Bryan was out there and he had Rowan with him. But you give me this. You let me team with Kofi tonight. And so me and Kofi can take on Bryan and Rowan. And I'm thinking, ooh, he's going to turn on Kofi, isn't he? And that's how this match is going to end. So we didn't hear if the match was going to take place. And then we go to the ring where it was supposed to be the Bar, not the Bar, Cesaro, taking on Johnny Gargano. So the Bar comes down for their entrance and everything's looking good. And then all of a sudden, the Hardy Boyz music hit. Remember, they're in Charlotte, North Carolina, 2 hours from where they live in Cameron, in North Carolina. So Hardy's music hits and you think, okay, so what is this? Cesaro versus Jeff Hardy instead of Johnny Gargano? And both Hardys come out, both Matt and Jeff, and it turns into a tag team match. Matt Hardy also looks like he's lost at least 10, 15 pounds since the last time we saw him. We've seen some pictures on social media of him looking a lot more, in better shape than he has really in the last 5 years. It's probably the best he's looked since the early 2000s. He also moved really well in the ring. Didn't look like he was hurting at all. Very smooth. So there's no explanation for the change. I heard that people backstage didn't really know what was going on either. The commentators might have mentioned it in passing, but I don't think so. The Bar was surprised by this as it looked like they didn't realize what was going on as well. The Hardys were firmly in control early. Jeff jumped off Matt's back and landed on the Bar on the floor outside. The Bar then took over and gained control after a commercial. Jeff would fight back, though, and hit a whisper in the wind. Matt got the hot tag and ran wild on Cesaro. He hit a side effect for a close like 2.8. The finish would then come, though, when Matt would hit a twist of fate on Sheamus, Jeff would hit the Swanton Bomb, and they pinned Sheamus. Not a bad match, I think, all things considered. Both teams looked really well. They looked good, but then it's like, why didn't we get Cesaro versus Gargano? The match was announced as far as as I think they were announcing that match on social media up to halfway through today, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I think it was the last time I saw something that they were still promoting that match. So I don't know when this change was made, when they called Matt and said, hey, come to Smackdown. It was only 2 hours from where he lived. So if he was home last night or something, they could have been like, hey, drive up. It's only 2 hours. So backstage, Aleister Black and Ricochet were watching a monitor when Lana would interrupt. She says she doesn't see anything special with Ricochet and thinks that Black's just ordinary. They then promise to prove her wrong when they defeat Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev later tonight. We then got the announcement that the Honky Tonk Man will be going into the Hall of Fame this year. Don't know who's going to induct him. Whether that's Jimmy Hart, his cousin Jerry the King Lawler. I think maybe bring in Santino. They had that cool little dynamic in 2008 where Santino was always calling him the Honky Tonky Mans. So, R-Truth comes out with Carmella. They announced that he was going to be doing a U.S. title open challenge. R-Truth said, I'm the United States champion. I love being the United States champion. I've always looked up to somebody since I was a young little child. And that man was John Cena. Even though R-Truth's 8 years older than John Cena. He said he wanted to keep John Cena's U.S. Championship Open Challenge tradition going. And he said that he would have anybody come down to challenge him, but not before a dance break. So they did a little 7-second dance break, him and Carmella. And then the music of Andrade would hit. Andrade and Zelina Vega would come down to ringside to accept, but suddenly Rey Mysterio's music would hit, run down, and slide into the ring just slightly before Andrade would get in. Truth looked at both guys and was like, what do I do now? And he did the whole, what would John Cena do? And Carmella says, well, Cena would probably just take them both on at the same time. And he looks over at Andrade and goes, nope. Looks at Rey and goes, nope. And then he thinks about it for a second and he goes, you know what? I'll take them both on. So we get a U.S. title triple threat, R-Truth, Andrade, and Rey Mysterio. Early on, Andrade nailed Mysterio with a dropkick. Mysterio attempted a sliding dive into a splash on the floor, but Andrade caught him with a kick. Mysterio gave Andrade a Hurricane Rana off of Truth's shoulders for a near fall. Andrade recovered and hit double knees on Mysterio. Truth would finally gain control and hit a splash on Andrade. Truth did the Cena's "You Can't See Me" and the 5-knuckle shuffle for a near fall. Zelina Vega would try to get involved, jumping up on the apron, but Carmella would pull her off. Andrade then avoided a 619 and hit a nice-looking back elbow for a 2. This back elbow that he does, it just looks like it hurts. It probably doesn't. Like, he's just been doing this back elbow for so long, he knows how to make it look just perfect. Mysterio would then set up both Truth and Andrade for a 619. He hit the move on Andrade when Truth would move out of the way. As Rey Mysterio would roll through the 619, he got rolled up. 1, 2, 3. R-Truth retains his United States Championship. After the match, Andrade tried to attack Mysterio. Mysterio countered into a 619, but Andrade escaped and hit his move instead. Well, and they tell us that Kofi Kingston and Kevin Owens taking on Daniel Bryan and Rowan is official for later on in the night, main event of the show. And then Charlotte Flair would come down. Kind of good heel promo, a little robotic, like Charlotte does sometimes. But all things considered, I think this was very effective. She said that, yes, Vince McMahon chose her to main event WrestleMania, that she will be replacing Becky Lynch. She said that's very important to be handpicked by Vince McMahon. She then recapped Becky Lynch being arrested last night and Rousey just leaving the title in the middle of the ring with Stephanie. Flair said that she knows her lane and she doesn't just do whatever she wants. She does what she knows she's supposed to do. She said that she'd never laid down a title because she would never not want to be a champion, basically. She said that Ronda Rousey one time cut a promo stating that you do anything to be the champion. You take on any challenger no matter what obstacles put in front of you, but now Rousey's not living up to what she said. Flair then noted that she will come to Raw on Monday and hope that Vince McMahon just names her the new and quote-unquote rightful Raw Women's Champion. So then we got Ricochet and Aleister Black taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. Heard this match actually went a little over time. Black and Nakamura went back and forth early, trading moves. The heels took over and isolated Ricochet in their corner. Black was briefly in control until Rusev distracted him and Nakamura hit him from behind. Rusev rocked Black with a clothesline, sending him to the floor. Ricochet got the hot tag and ran wild. He rocked Rusev with a springboard uppercut and hit a standing shooting star press for a near fall. Ricochet then hit a somersault senton on Rusev on the floor. Nakamura went for the Kinshasa, and Black would counter into the Black Mass for the victory. So after this match, we go backstage, and Kayla Braxton interviewed AJ Styles. Styles says that he's happy to hear that Roman Reigns is all good. He's in remission. He's happy for him, like everybody else is. Braxton then said, "People believe that you're in a slump right now. Is this the hardest time you've had in your career?" And AJ Styles would go on to say, "No, I wrestled for 15 years before coming to the WWE. I had hard times then." He said that just because he's not the champion anymore and Daniel Bryan beat him, it's not going to stop him. He's not going to quit. He said he's going to pick himself up and take on any challenge that comes next. He said he's going to prove that this is the house that AJ Styles built, and then Randy Orton would walk up. Randy Orton would go, the house that AJ Styles built, kind of question that, and just walk off. So it looks like they're building to either a Fastlane or even WrestleMania, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. So then the music of Lacey Evans would hit. And what does Lacey Evans do? She walks down the ramp, takes off her glove, and then leaves. That's it. I have no clue whatsoever what they are doing with her. It's kind of mind-boggling because they like her. They're trying to, quote-unquote, push her, if this is a way to do so, and that they want to make her one of the top females, but just having her come out here, walk down the ramp and walk back, it's like, is she a model or is she a wrestler? So we get the main event, Kofi Kingston and Kevin Owens against Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Kingston and Rowan started off the match. Owens quickly tagged himself in. Kingston scored a 2 count on Bryan and sent him to the floor. He tagged in Owens and hit a dive onto the floor. Back from a commercial break, the heels were in control and isolated Kingston on their side of the ring. Bryan tied Kingston up in the ropes and hit a running dropkick to his back. Rowan got tagged in and hit a big splash on Kofi for a near fall. And it looks like Rowan's trying some new things here, and I like that. Bryan gave Kofi a huge superplex for another close near fall. Kingston would finally fight back and rolled up Bryan for a 2. Bryan applied the LeBell Lock, but Kofi would get his foot onto the ropes, making him break the submission hold. Bryan then hit 2 running drop kicks in I don't like this. Like, I'd like the drop kick in the corner, but it's just dumb that he's got to run into the other corner. It would be one thing if he bounces off the ropes to get the momentum, but he's running into the hard corner that gives no anything. Doesn't allow him to like spring off and have more momentum. It's just kind of meh. So both men, after the third dropkick attempt, Kofi would jump up with a double foot stomp. Both men were down on the mat. They both crawled to their corners and tagged in their partners. Owens ran wild on Bryan and hit a senton. He then hit a cannonball on Bryan in the corner. Owens rocked Rowan with a super kick and then hit a a sit-out pop-up powerbomb, but Bryan kicked out. And my first thought here was, well, I don't see Owens losing. Unless they go to like Kofi picking up the victory. So then they can be like, no, look, Kofi is deserving of that match at Fastlane. But that wasn't the case. Instead, Owens climbed to the top rope and Rowan yanked him off and threw him over the announce table. Kingston then hit a huge dive on Rowan. This damn trust fall, especially to do it to one person. You're just falling back off the top rope to the outside, not looking, hoping that they catch you. Very scary. Bryan would then miss a running knee to Kevin Owens, and Owens would then hit him with a stone cold stunner and pin him 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. I did not expect to see the stone cold stunner by Kevin Owens as his finisher. We've seen him recently, well, as recent as when he was around 4 months ago, do the move periodically, but not as a finisher. I did not expect that as his finisher whatsoever. So the show goes off the air, and they say that it is Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens at Fastlane for the WWE Championship. What that means for Kofi, I have no clue. Could that mean that Kofi gets the match at Mania? We did hear recently that they were thinking of Kevin Owens getting the match at Mania. But now maybe that hashtag Kofi Mania is going to actually take over. We'll see, but I don't know. It's very interesting that they went this route. I didn't expect Kevin Owens at all. I didn't expect them to take Kofi out of this match. It's kind of like the whole, well, they did it on Raw with the women. Now they're doing it on Smackdown. I don't know. We'll see where it all leads to, but all I can say is I heard, don't panic if you're a Kofi supporter. If you're a fan of Kofi, don't worry. All should be okay. With that, tomorrow night, we do have the PW Unlimited podcast, but also we've got a special live stream from What Wrestling. Us here at Pro Wrestling Unlimited and Wrestling Has It Tomorrow have teamed up for our second match stream of the year. Join us tomorrow night right here live for some indie wrestling with former ECW champion Tommy Dreamer, NXT superstars Keith Lee and Danny Burch, hardcore icon Matt Trenton, JT Dunn, Jimmy Jacobs, and more. Discover tomorrow's talent today. The live stream will begin at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Come join us in the live chat. I'll be there. I want to see you guys there as well. As soon as this live stream does end, then we will transition it right into the normal PW Unlimited Wednesday show. With that, now, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys thought of tonight's Smackdown Live. If you guys do want to call in, you can call in at 559-475-8473. 559-475-8473. as we wait for people to trickle in to the calls, we'll read the chat. Xavier DJ says, no, it's a Canadian stunner. Nice one. Just looking at the chat here. Evian Ep says, I think NXT should have gotten the Fox deal instead of SmackDown. The blue brand could go to Sci. No. For what NXT's supposed to be, that would not work. And plus, they don't want to go back to Sci-Fi. If anything, they would have just kept SmackDown on USA Network. But no, there's no way that would even have been a thought in anybody's mind. But let's take this call. Call me, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Tim, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing?
Oh, doing good. Well, the first thing I want to say is it is great that Reigns is back and healthy and able to work. It's it's a great feeling. But I want to talk to you about the whole Charlotte thing tonight, and you might have a completely different opinion on that because I call here and we always do. But Charlotte, I know that that they're trying to build towards like the women's the whole triple threat thing at Mania and stuff, but I don't really like how they're using SmackDown too when you got a champion like Asuka who doesn't get on the show, but Charlotte, who's a part of Raw technically, and SmackDown can bounce around and cut 10-minute promos and all that. Like, I just feel like that should be saved for Raw. Now, I know it's big, but
no,
what's your opinion on that?
I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like Charlotte is a SmackDown superstar. She's still technically on the SmackDown roster, so whenever she wants to say, she's got to say it in front of the SmackDown crowd. I mean, she doesn't show up at the Raw house shows. She doesn't show up on Monday Night Raw. She works everything SmackDown, and then when they need her at Raw, she'll show up. But as far as her cutting that promo, I thought it was okay. I do get where you're coming from, where they need to do more with the SmackDown Women's Champion. But I thought it was all right, except they should have at least did some sort of story furthering the whole Mandy Rose beating Asuka from last week. Even if it was just a quick mention from the announcers, a quick backstage segment, something, they should have kept that going in some form or fashion.
Well, right, exactly. But, I mean, so, which leads to kind of an unexpected follow-up question. So after, assuming that Becky beats Ronda and Charlotte Mania, that's the direction they're going, does Charlotte go back to SmackDown or she stay on Raw?
Too early to say, especially with the Superstar shakeup, 2 weeks after WrestleMania, because we know it's taking place April 14th and 15th. But I think it's too early to say what they're going to do. I assume she stays on SmackDown, Charlotte, that is, if she loses, which she should. But who knows? Maybe they move her to Raw with the actual Superstar shakeup.
Yeah. And my last question, did you know, I didn't get it. Did the WWE, miss, place time? Right before that main event, they said, we'll hear from the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions next. And then it just cut to the main event.
The Aleister Black Ricochet versus Rusev and Nakamura match went overtime. That's all I know.
That's what I thought, because I know that just looked like it went way too much.
Yeah, that match.
Over, but
I heard that match did go over what it was supposed to, and I don't know how much time they were going to allot to the Usos, but that did look bad on them. I forgot to mention that. That did look bad on them, where they were like, "We're gonna hear from the champions next," and then nothing.
Yeah, but that last thing. But as far as the NXT Superstars go, are they ever gonna get assigned a brand? Or
I think after the Superstar shakeup. I think with the shakeup after Mania, they'll assign them.
Yeah, I can see Ricochet to Raw and the rest SmackDown.
I can see Ricochet and Black. I want to say thank you for the call. I can see Ricochet and Black staying to SmackDown, and you put DIY onto Raw. Maybe. I know Gargano and Ciampa, spoiler alert, are going to fight for the NXT Championship at TakeOver. So one of them's got to stay in NXT if they're going to be the champion. I assume Gargano. So why not put Ciampa on Raw? Put Alistair and Ricochet on SmackDown. Well, let's take another call. Caller in the air, what's going on?
Hey, man. Hey, my name is Will. I am actually about an hour from where the event took place tonight. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there. I had to teach a class, but
Gotcha.
big fan of your show, man. And
Thank you.
listen, I just want to ask real quick for WrestleMania, men, women, championships. What do you got? Who are you thinking at this point with everything that's going on with all the chaos and whatnot?
You know, I had heard the Kevin Owens Daniel Bryan match was supposed to be WrestleMania, so now
Me too.
As far as that match goes, I have no clue, and I don't know when this decision was made to change it. As far as, you know, we know the Universal Championship, we know the Raw Women's Championship. I can see maybe the IC title being a ladder match, six-way or something. Maybe the Hardy Boyz challenge the Usos for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. They can build them up over the next month or so. As far as the Raw tag titles go, that's a tough one because I don't know if you've read the spoilers. It looks like it could be either Aleister Black or Ricochet or DIY. Yeah. But DIY, they're breaking up in 3 to 4 weeks. Sure. So it could be maybe Aleister Black and Ricochet challenging if they want to keep them a tag team. I don't know either way. That's something that I don't think they've even decided on yet. I wouldn't keep them a tag team going forward. And then as far as, you know, you got the Cruiserweight Championship, that can come down to anybody in that tournament. Because, I mean, that's something that they could probably change their mind on every week. So that one's kind of hard to depict. And then the hardest one for me would probably be the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. If they want to have just a good match, then I guess put Naomi in there because her and Asuka would probably work well together. Or go back to the NXT days and put Nikki Cross in there.
Yeah. Wait, man, listen, I want to let you get to everybody else, but before I let you go, I do want to add this. I tried to get in call last night, but I want to let you guys know, because I know you had to kick a lot of people out. My daughter was actually diagnosed with the same leukemia as Roman Reigns back in 2000. She beat it. She rang the bell this past December after 2 years of treatment.
Awesome.
And one thing I do know is that, you know, after a certain amount of time, you can be in remission. So all these people say that it's fake and all that dumb crap, you know, after a few months, you can be in remission. You're probably still doing treatments, but your body can still do all this stuff. And I know you said you got family and all that that's going through that. You know, I got an almost 5-year-old now who has already beat this stuff. So it hit me personally that all these people are saying all this stuff. So I just want to let you know, man, listen, I'm with you, and this is legit. Roman Reigns is legit, and anybody who questions it, man, I would block them too.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to hear about your daughter, that she's doing well, and all things considered.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, hey, she's an inspiration, just like Roman Reigns is. And, like, when he was out there and he just soaked it in, I was like, you know, I was tearing up, too. I'm like, you know what? I did the same thing when my daughter rang that bell. I was tearing up. Like, I could just see where he was coming from. So, anyway, man, look, I'll let you get to other callers. I just wanted to it's an honor to actually talk to you, and I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for the call, and have a great night.
All right, see you, buddy. Bye.
All right. Brandon Sariano in the chat says, Mandy for Mania. Maybe they do the match at Mania instead of a Fastlane, but it's WWE. They could have last week wanted to set something up with Mandy and Asuka, and now this week it's not even talked about. So who knows? Before we take some more calls, we'll look through the live chat here. Just seeing a lot of people are saying do Mandy versus Asuka at WrestleMania. I mean, you can. I don't see why not. I have heard Lacey Evans' name, but I wouldn't do that at all. Clashmaster says, do you think some of the ideas tonight were possibly Pritchard's idea? I don't think so. I don't think he's got that much influence yet. Maybe after WrestleMania he can throw some influence in there, or leading into WrestleMania. But I don't think him starting last night and already wanting to change a bunch of things, pitching ideas, I don't think, no, I really don't. Let's take another call. And never mind. Here we go. Let's try this one. Caller in the air. What's going on?
What?
Hello?
Hello. So, I want to talk about the women's tag titles.
Okay.
So they're obviously going between all three brands, NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. I personally think this is very controversial, but I think that since they're doing this kind of stuff, I thought it would be cool, like, to do it with the WWE Championship too, like to represent all brands, like WWE as a company.
Now here's the thing. When they did the brand split originally in 2002, they tried that. It was too hard to book the championship that way, though, because you had to say, well, what brand gets it this month? What brand gets it the next month? Okay, SmackDown has got the WWE Championship match as their big match for the month. What does Raw have? I mean, yeah, we don't see the Raw champion around much, so it's not that big of a deal anymore. But back when they first tried to do that, where it was Undertaker was the champion, he was going between both brands, it was just too hard for them to book and keep everything consistent and have legit challengers every single month going forward. So as far as the main championship going from brand to brand, with that having to be, more of a focus, not trying to denigrate the women's tag team titles, but having to have more of a focus on it than those women's tag titles, it's just too hard to keep consistent challengers and storylines going when you have to go back and forth brand to brand.
Yeah. It's like also lack of like women tag teams. Like you can't. It's hard to like put two people together and just force them in. So.
Right.
Like I could see Dana Brooke and Natalia doing something, but I can't see them like female tag team.
Ooh, call dropped out. Unfortunate. Looking at the chat, Animation TV says, I can see Lacey causing a DQ in the Mandy vs. Asuka women's title match. That is supposed to happen at Fastlane. No, we don't know if it's supposed to happen. That's what we have kind of like assumed based off of what we saw last week. But then with nothing this week and only one more show till Fastlane, you can't really say that match is supposed to happen. Nobody knows what's supposed to happen, especially with so many things changing and a lot of people backstage not even knowing what's going on. You ask somebody backstage, hey, Owens is back. Well, what's the plan? Why now is it Fastlane? And they just say, I honestly don't know. Let's take another call. Caller on the air, what's going on?
Hey, Tim, how you doing? This is Logan calling, same guy as last night from talking about the women's tag team titles.
Right. What's up?
What's going on, man? So, something I just want to bring up, I know it's probably a very controversial subject when it comes to the call-ups that have been happening recently, as in the Lacey Evans and the Nikki Crosses, and now the Ricochets, Aleister Blacks, and everybody that's been coming up the past few months. But I just wanted to talk about Lars Sullivan and the state of Lars Sullivan, because I know, like, with the whole panic attack and all that of what happened a few months ago, has there been any rumblings of Sullivan showing up at any time?
Nothing whatsoever. Like radio silent.
Radio silent.
Like nobody is saying anything. Nobody knows anything. You try to get some information and they just say, no clue whatsoever.
Well, like, I know with what I'm about to say is very controversial. I'm actually a very big fan of Lars.
Same here.
Because, like, I'm a very big fan. Like, I live here in Orlando. I'm not going to say where, but I live here in Orlando, and I go to almost all the NXT shows at Full Sail University. And Lars is a sight to behold. The
Oh,
dude
yeah.
is one of a kind. He is definitely one of a kind, and I just hope that, obviously things are not going to happen with him in Mania, but hopefully SummerSlam is his big going out party where his talents could definitely shine and be shown. Like, I just really hope Lars is doing fine, and I hope that Lars just blows everyone out of the water and he can just be the star that he is meant to be. That's just my take on the Lars Sullivan situation.
I mean, I agree 100% with everything you said. Again, nobody knows anything. You try to get information from somebody and they just say, I have no clue. So as far as if he's ever going to come to the main roster, if we even ever see him again in the WWE, now I'm not saying they're going to fire him or anything, but it's just so nothing known that you can't even try to speculate.
Yeah. Yeah, like another topic I wanted to get onto is Lacey Evans. I was hearing you say that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm using the wrong wordage here, but you're not so heated for a Lacey Evans Asuka WrestleMania match for the women's title. I've said, I've been to these NXT shows, and most of the time Lacey is getting the most heat. Even especially when I went to the Orlando Raw show, and Lacey was getting probably heat of the night next to Baron Corbin that night in Orlando when she had that match with Natalya on Main Event.
Right.
So, where do you see Lacey Evans, her ceiling? Where do you see her ceiling on the main roster? Regardless of Raw or SmackDown.
Right. I know Triple H is a really big supporter of hers. He thinks she's somebody that they can push as a number 3 as far as all women in the company. And I don't know. The way they've used her so far, I know why they like her so much. Because of her military background, she's actually an asset.
For sure.
She's actually an asset when they do the tryouts at the Performance Center. Because they like to run those tryouts like what's it called? I should know this. I went through it.
Drills.
Like
a
drills.
drill.
Yeah. And with her background with all that, they put her in charge of a group of people and say drill them. And she does it well.
Oh, yeah.
They love that.
Oh, yeah. I read that even before, not even a year into her training, she started, being a drill sergeant at the PC.
Right.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. Someone with maybe at that time 2 years experience prior to joining the WWE, that's amazing experience, to be basically the drill sergeant of the PC. And I think, in my opinion, Lacey has it all. She could be a huge star, but, this reminds me a lot of the Fandango push from years ago. And it went down with an injury before he could win the Intercontinental title that night. Curtis Axel won.
Right.
So, I just don't know, because this whole Lacey Evans thing that's going on is really confusing me, because it's pretty much like Fandango and how they introduced Fandango. So
kind of, yeah, I can see that.
I just wanted to vent on that, because the booking of Lacey Evans is mind-blowing to me.
Oh, yeah.
It
Very.
really hurts my feelings.
All right, but with that, I want to say thank you for the call and have a great night.
Yeah. Thank you. You as well.
All right, just looking at the chat here. A lot of you guys asking about Lars Sullivan now. Again, don't know anything going on with Lars Sullivan. Classmaster says, so hopefully the creative booking actually helps for Matt Hardy, especially since I'm pretty sure Matt and Pritchard did creative together on his gimmick too. No? If you're asking about Pritchard and Matt working on the broken gimmick, I don't think... No. And the broken gimmick in Impact TNA, that was all Matt and Jeremy Borash. Pritchard was in and out at that time, kind of, but he didn't really, from what I've heard, have any say on the Matt Hardy broken universe stuff. It was all Borash and Matt. They pretty much gave them free reign to do almost anything they wanted, especially since Matt was paying for all the production stuff of it anyways. Just looking here in the chat. A couple more things. A lot of you were saying that maybe they're going to give Kofi the Mania match against Bryan, and that's very possible. Very possible. Anything can happen, especially since they've already moved the reported Mania match to Fastlane. Maybe they're just shifting them around. Kristen McNutt says that they've announced a match for Fastlane. Let me look this up then. As we look in the chat. All right, then look on Twitter, I mean. So, okay, WWE has officially announced Mandy Rose will be challenging Asuka at Fastlane for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Well, there we go. They announced it on Twitter 5 minutes ago. Cool. So we do have that match now taking place. Asuka will have a match at Fastlane, and let's take another call. Caller on the air, what's going on?
Hey man, how you doing, Sam?
Pretty good, yourself?
Good. Hey, I want to ask you, so everyone's going crazy about Mandy Rose. You know, some people don't like her, some people do. But my thing is, I feel like everyone's ignoring the easy, to me, who I think has the most potential, because not only is she mixed martial arts, but I think she could really, really evolve. I think Sonya Deville would be perfect to face Asuka rather than Mandy Rose. So how do you feel about that approach?
I get where you're coming from, but they're too similar. As far as Asuka's kind of got a striking MMA kind of style, and Sonya Deville's got a striking MMA kind of style. So they don't want two styles to go on there. They want what's the word I'm looking for? Contradicting styles. They want contrasting styles in the women that they want to put up against each other.
Yeah, to me, I just personally think that I feel like, yeah, it's two of the same styles, but, you know, we got wrestlers like Aleister Black that have a striking base. You see a lot more high flyers throwing a lot more kicks, strikes. Of course, remember when Brie Bella came back, she started incorporating kicks into her style, and people somewhat started gravitating to her. So I don't feel like that would be too much of a bad thing. To me personally, why I feel like the reason why people aren't pulling the trigger on her being like it is because on the microphone, we don't really know how good she can be on the microphone, because the last time she's been there, it felt so scripted to me.
True, and the other thing I have heard is when you look at both, because her and Mandy were both on Tough Enough. When you look at where they started at Tough Enough to where they are now, everyone says Mandy is the one that's progressed and grown and really improved faster. So that's why they like Mandy, because she's improved faster than Sonya has.
We don't really know how good. Yeah, I just after seeing what Shayna Baszler's doing in NXT and seeing that they got another, you know, female martial artist on that roster, it's kind of got a little bit like that attitude. Like, she has a swagger about her. I don't know. It's like hard for me to put the exact name on it, but she does kind of have it.
But you can't compare Sonya Deville to Shayna Baszler.
I'm not comparing
Shayna Baszler is a million times leaps and bounds ahead of where Shayna Baszler and Mandy Rose are.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like, comparison of potential, like that swagger.
Maybe, but at the same time, we really haven't seen that. But that's also them not giving her the opportunity to show it as well.
They haven't. I'm just waiting for that to happen.
But we'll see. I want to say thank you for the call and have a great night. We'll see if they ever do push Sonya Deville over Mandy Rose. But look at all the women that Vince has always loved to push. Pretty and blonde. Let's take another call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Tim?
How's it going?
Doing good, sir. Question. I don't know if anybody's asked you or not. what's the whole point of Kevin Owens replacing Kofi Kingston?
You know, to be honest, I don't know, and a lot of people even backstage don't even know.
Because, I mean, Kofi Kingston deserves that opportunity. I mean, he is, to me, he's probably one of the greatest superstars probably since 2009, and a lot of people overlook him. And, I mean, the first thing I was telling my girlfriend and I, we were like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, I can understand you could save Kevin Owens for maybe WrestleMania, but why do it now for Fastlane when you already have that match already booked?
I have no clue because as of last weekend, I was hearing Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens WrestleMania. But now that they've shifted, this is only speculation. Maybe Kofi's getting the WrestleMania match now.
That's what I was thinking, because maybe they're going to save him for Mania and just go on and let Kevin Owens do it. So I was just, it was just, to me, I'm just trying to figure out why would they, it just doesn't make any sense right now. I mean, you already had, everybody was fired up about Kofi, and, it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, they do have that hashtag that's been going around for 2 weeks now, that Kofi Mania. So maybe they've really opened their eyes to that and seen, hey, maybe we should give him that match at WrestleMania, because then we can make Kofi Mania merchandise, sell a bunch of Kofi Mania shirts and headbands and hats and all this other kinds of stuff. So maybe they're thinking of it more of a, unfortunately, more of a, how much money can we make off of this guy now, and not, well, he deserves the match at WrestleMania instead of Fastlane.
Right. Yeah, I could definitely see that. That was definitely what I was thinking. But, I was still looking forward to it at Fastlane. I think it would that would have been the top-of-line main event because, I love both Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, and they're fantastic.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But at the same time, don't sleep on Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan. Those guys have worked together for decades.
Oh, God, yeah, no doubt. And also, one other question for you. What's your thoughts on what's going to be the time lapse for when they're going to probably start pushing Lacey Evans?
I don't know. I've had other people ask that tonight as well. All I know is they really like her. Triple H is very high on her. They think that she can be one of the top 3 women in the company once Ronda Rousey steps away. But as far as when they can start pushing her, her name was brought up to face Asuka at WrestleMania at one point over the last couple of weeks, but I don't know how set in stone that could have been, or if it was just a, hey, you like her, let's give her a big match.
Yeah, well, and I like the idea. I mean, I don't know what other people were thinking as well, but I love the idea because, see, I've been watching NXT, and Lacey Evans, she's a great athlete, and she really does, she's got what it takes, I believe. I mean, and also I just feel that, they need some fresh faces to face somebody like an Asuka or Charlotte Flair or whatever. But I really enjoy, I like what she does in the ring. I don't know about you, but in NXT I thought she was great.
Yeah, but here's the thing between NXT and the main roster. In NXT, for the most part, she's facing women that are basically the same skill level as her. Now that she's on the main roster, she's facing women that are way better than her. And so you're going to see her imperfections and how green she really is compared to the main roster women. And we saw that in the Royal Rumble when she did kind of get lost at times and had to regain her composure.
Right. Oh, yeah. And one other thing, and then I'm officially done for the night. Well, the whole Triple H and Batista aspect from last night, was that, do you think, do you believe that they're going to keep on pushing this match, or this is just going to be a one-time deal at WrestleMania?
From everything that I've ever heard from Batista over the last 2 or 3 years, he keeps saying he wants one last wrestling match. He wants it at WrestleMania, and he wants it against Triple H. He said once he gets that, he doesn't need to do anything else in wrestling. He'll feel accomplished. So I think they'll go forward with this storyline, and they'll do the match at WrestleMania. And if they go the route of this will be Batista's final match ever, most likely, then Triple H beats him. Oh,
yeah. And this was a thought, and I want to hear your opinion. You know how they were talking about Triple H may have Ric Flair in his corner. Why not have Randy Orton in his corner, and you'll have a whole Evolution kind of, like an Evolution reunion match.
I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, then that leaves Randy Orton. What is he going to have, that and another match? Because then if you have Randy Orton involved in that, then that means Randy Orton's not involved in a storyline of his own to have his own WrestleMania match.
Right, yeah. Now I see what you're talking about. But that would be kind of cool because I loved Evolution back in the day.
Oh, same here. My favorite stable.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, Tim, thank you so much, sir. You have a good night, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for the call, and have a great night.
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right. If anybody else does want to call in, we'll take one final call. 559-475-8473. We'll read the chat while we wait for one more call to come through. Squink out 69 says Roman versus Bryan at Mania. No, I don't think they'd go that route. I've seen a couple of you guys try to suggest that in the chat, but I don't think they would go that route at all. Excuse me. Dragon Star says, yeah, Kofi is great and all, but not in the main event picture. And I've said this last week. I think it's too early for Kofi to be in the quote-unquote main event picture. I guess it works a little, but at the same time, it's like, this is a guy that for the last 4 years has been a tag team. Nothing against tag teams, but he's been a tag team that throws pancakes into the crowd and hands out cereal to kids. It's like, this guy hasn't been taken really that serious over the last couple of years, and now you want him to challenge the champion and make us think that he can beat the champion? You got to build him up more as more of a challenger than they have so far. But let's take this final call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Pretty good yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. My first question, I know it's Smackdown recap, but last night on Monday Night Raw, like when Ric Flair's music hit, now be honest, like when he didn't come out, did you think it had something to do with Becky? Because I did not see that whole Batista thing coming. Like, what were you thinking?
You know, when he at first didn't come out, I really didn't know what to think. I didn't think it was going to be Becky, because if it was going to be Becky, Charlotte would have been in the ring as well already. So when Charlotte didn't come down at all, I'm like, okay, so it's not going to be Becky. They're going to keep the thing of Becky was arrested, and that just didn't cross my mind. But I like how quickly they shot to the back of Batista, like to the back and showing Batista, because it really didn't give you much time to think, well, what's going on? You had maybe 30 seconds to think, where's Rick? And then it all of a sudden shows Batista. And I like that it shot back so quickly. But as far as what I thought, you know, like I said, going into the quote-unquote birthday party, I was like, okay, maybe Becky shows back up even though she was arrested. But Charlotte's not out here, so I don't think that's going to happen, because there would be no reason for it to be Becky coming out there and ruining the birthday party. So that was the only thing I was really thinking. I didn't think of, well, right, what's going on with Rick?
Right. All right. So moving on to SmackDown. I mean, well, obviously we all know that. I mean, Kofi is out, but like, were you like? I wasn't expecting Kevin Owens to come back so quickly. I thought that I thought they would have did it at Fastlane. You know, like Kofi would have lost, and then, you know, like Kevin Owens probably, you know, would have came out and challenged him, or, you know, it would have been some sort of angle. Like, do you feel? I feel like they did it too fast, or like, do you think they did it too fast?
Here's the thing with that. I mean, I get where you're coming from. He could have came back this week. He could have came back in 2 weeks after Fastlane. I was under the impression that it was going to be the Mania match, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, so you didn't need him to come back before Fastlane. But with them changing everything now, and we don't know exactly if this is going to get changed again or not, because there's still one more week until Fastlane. But with them changing everything, they had to do it this week. I mean, if you did it next week, it would kind of just be like, wait, what? Then you can't have any explanation about it. It would just be like, they did it, it's done, this is the match you're getting. So doing it this week with them changing everything does make sense. Again, like you said, it might have been too early. Yeah, it would have been too early if the plan was still a WrestleMania for Kevin Owens.
So like, because I was hearing the show, and do you think like they do Kofi and Daniel Bryan, or perhaps maybe even they do the triple threat match? Who knows? Like, I mean, WWE changed their mind a lot.
Right. Thinking about that, they already have the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship, so I don't think they want to do 2 triple threat matches for big titles. But I mean, the only thing I can think of is either Kofi gets that match at WrestleMania because they want to capitalize off the hashtag Kofi Mania, or this is a long shot prediction. Owens wins at Fastlane. Daniel Bryan somehow gets a rematch at WrestleMania. That's long shot. I don't think that one would happen, but it's just a possibility.
Right. It's just thinking. My last question is, like Lacey Evans. I mean, obviously, like she just comes in and out, on Raw and SmackDown, but I mean, rumor has it that she may potentially face Asuka at WrestleMania, and if that is true, in my personal opinion, I think that, if they want to make her the number 3 of the company, I think that she should beat Asuka at WrestleMania if they want to make her like one of the big faces of the company.
Right, I get exactly what you're saying there. I want to say thank you for the call. I mean, that's what they would have to do if they really want to push her as one of the top women in the company and say, hey, Lacey Evans, we're going all in with you. Then they got to give her the championship. They got to push her towards the title. They can't just say, oh, well, we'll give you this match against Asuka and we'll see how you get over, but you're not going to win. She ain't going to get over. She's just going to come off of that as, oh, well, they just fed her to Asuka. So if she does get that match at WrestleMania, which is still up in the air, if she does get that match at WrestleMania to face Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship, I think Lacey Evans would have to win, unfortunately. She would have to win. But with that, we're going to wrap things up here. Once again, I do want to remind you guys that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we will have some Wrestling Has a Tomorrow. We will do a 2-hour stream of different matches from the promotion with guys like Tommy Dreamer, Keith Lee, Jimmy Jacobs, Danny Burch, and others. Again, the stream does start tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And right after that, we will then go into our regular PW Unlimited Wednesday show. I'll be in the live chat during this stream. I hope to see you guys all there too, watching some great independent wrestling. So with that, thank you for joining me here tonight, talking SmackDown Live. Thank you everybody that watched later here on YouTube.com. Subscribe right here on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling ULTD. Follow us on Twitter at PW Unlimited. And always check out the website, pwunlimited.net. Thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for both of the live streams.